Hi, I wanted to just discuss my feelings on the Dark Knight Rises new announcements from Warner Brothers that we now know who the two villains are going to be in the movie, and there could still be more. I doubt that though, um, because it probably just wouldn't work then. But I think that these two choices with Anne Hathaway and Tom Hardy are interesting choices to say the least. First, I'll start with Tom Hardy. I haven't seen him in anything besides I saw him in the Star Trek movie and I saw him in Inception this summer. He's a good actor. He has great timing for scenes, from what I've seen from him, and he knows he when he's acting, he has a very good feel for a scene just from those two movies alone. I haven't seen him in Bronson, which is what a lot of people are comparing what he might look like as Bane, who he's been cast as. As for, I don't have much knowledge of the character of Bane either because I didn't read the comic book really a lot growing up. I know the main villains, like the more well-known villains, such as Two Face, Joker, Riddler, Catwoman, Poison Ivy, you know, uh, Doctor Hugo Strange, which I thought could have been a good villain for this film. Also, unfortunately, they didn't cast him, and they decided to do a Bane movie. Now, I don't know exactly how it's going to work because Bane, he was in a previous Batman movie. He wasn't a central villain. He was kind of a bodyguard in that movie, and I don't exactly know how they're gonna incorporate him into this film. What he's gonna do. Uh, People have told me that Bane is the person who broke Batman's back in the comics. I thought that might be interesting to see in a film. I don't know what would happen then because there's nobody else to take up Batman's mantle in these films. Like there are in the comics, there's multiple Batmans. It's not just Bruce Wayne. So I'm not entirely certain if they're going to do that. If they do that, it might be at the end, maybe. Um, so I'm intrigued to see what they do with that character, to say the least, because I don't think they'll screw it up. I mean, Christopher Nolan is such a good filmmaker. He's made two really quality Batman films in a row. I doubt he'll do. I doubt that it's going to be as. I doubt the character is going to be as comical as he was, or as superficial as he was in the other Batman movie. As for the other casting choices, Anne Hathaway, and she was cast as Selena Kyle, or Catwoman, basically. Now, a lot of people are saying that Catwoman's not going to appear in this. It's just going to be Selena Kyle, and it's going to be about her descent to become Catwoman, her journey to become Catwoman. I thought that might be interesting. I don't know, because kind of like the entire Dark Knight was about how Harvey Dent became Two Face, and that actually worked. They got that into an entire movie, which I couldn't believe, but they did. And then he died. So they could do that. I could actually see a Batman and Catwoman working together against Bane. That might be interesting because um, Catwoman in the comics, kind of a she's like an anti-hero. She's a thief, but she's not necessarily evil. She's not like the Joker. She's not like Two Face or the Riddler. She's worked with Batman, and she kind of and Batman sees in her a chance to bring her back towards a side that fights for justice, possibly. Um, she's like Batman, but she's a little bit more over the edge. Like Batman, he knows what's good and what's not good. Catwoman, she's willing to break the laws and she's willing to get criminals. She's willing to steal and she's willing to maybe murder. Batman's not willing to do that. That he won't take that next step. It's clearly what the first two films have suggested. So I think there will be a really great interplay between Batman Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle, because neither of them know the identity of the other person. But while they're out on the streets, they do. They see each other as Batman and Catwoman. That's, again, if Catwoman appears in it. If she doesn't, it's just going to be strictly Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle. I don't know how they meet. Probably as his new love interest, I'd assume, because Rachel died at the end of the second movie. So I can see that. I'm kind of glad that they didn't cast two women, like a love interest and a villain, because that might have been too much for the film. Too much. I mean, Nolan juggled a lot of characters in the last two films, and they all worked. But I think with a final film, you really don't. This is the final film in Nolan's trilogy. Do you want to introduce that many new characters? The way Christopher Nolan described it, they're finishing their story with this movie. So I doubt. I mean, they're already going to have to introduce Bane and Catwoman, or Selina Kyle. I don't know if you'd want to introduce a third character, because you're also going to have Commissioner Gordon. You're going to have something for Lucius Fox. You're going to have something for Alfred. Batman, obviously, Bruce Wayne. So I'm not sure. And the Scarecrow is rumored to be still out there. He's going to be in it again. So I don't know necessarily if you want to, if they're going to go down that road, and how that would work by adding a love interest and two villains. Worked in The Dark Knight, but one of those characters was already established in Rachel, so that was why I think it was able to work. And also because they opted to not show the Joker's origin, just to show the character as is. With this movie, I don't know if they're going to show the origin of Bane or the origin of Catwoman. This is another interesting dilemma that the filmmakers are going to have to choose which character. If they do both characters, I don't know if they're going to have time for that. I don't know if there's going to be enough. Yeah, there's not going to be enough runtime to have two new villains be completely developed. That's why the Spider-Man movies kind of limited themselves to each to one villain before the third movie, when everything got crazy because they tried to put three villains in that movie. Well, kind of three, which became two, but it didn't work because they had to show the origin of two of them, that Venom and Sandman. So clearly, there was too much there was just too much going on. The filmmakers couldn't devote enough time to character development. Again, but this is what Christopher Nolan's really good at. He's really good at giving time to develop characters. He in The Dark Knight, for example, we see Harvey Dent go from Gotham's district attorney all the way to becoming Two-Face. And that was amazing what he was able to do, how he was able to do that in like 2 hours time, because the last half hour of the movie, I think he was Two-Face. So in just 2 hours he was able to do that. With this film, I don't know if you could do that with two new characters. I don't imagine they're going to. If I had to pick which one I prefer, I'd prefer to see the origins of Catwoman. I'd like to see her before she becomes Catwoman, just as Selina Kyle. Even though we've seen that already in Batman Returns, and we saw it in that terrible 2004 Catwoman movie, I'd still like to see Nolan's take on it. Bane, you could easily he could be like the Joker, where you just show him as is, and maybe just show how he became Bane in a flashback scene, or just through the dialogue. You know, I'm interested to see what they do with Commissioner Gordon in this film, because now Commissioner Gordon, the way Dark Knight ended was they set up that Batman is now on the run. He is considered a criminal. Well, he was always considered a criminal, but the police under Gordon and the former commissioner didn't willfully go after him because they knew he was trying to clean up the streets. But now they think that he's killed Harvey Dent, um, because he's not a hero. And I'm just curious to see what Commissioner Gordon. I know he's going to have to hunt Batman down. That'll be really interesting because there's going to be a lot going on in this movie. Just like there was in The Dark Knight. There was quite a bit going on in The Dark Knight, even though The Dark Knight is essentially just a 2.5-hour chase movie. You couldn't just simply say that. I would disagree. A lot of people say that. I would disagree. It's not a two and it's like it's an hour and a half chase movie, and the other hour is this, I guess, the setup maybe. But this movie's not going to be like that. I think this movie is going to be more like Batman Begins, where you're going to show more origins. It's going to be a lot more dark in terms of atmosphere. Dark Knight was really like a crime movie, a superhero movie set in a crime movie, I guess it would be the best way to say it. And I don't know if they're going to do that with this movie, because, I mean, they might, but if you pick two villains like Catwoman and Bane, Bane takes some of the reality out of the series, because he's like a super Venom. He's like Venom makes him really muscular or something. I'm not sure, but it's not realistic as Two-Face or Joker, or like Carmine Falcone from the first movie. It'll be interesting also to see who takes over the crime in Gotham. Maybe Bane's going to do that. Maybe Bane is going to take over the Falcone crime family, because, I mean, Salvatore Maroni, it's ambiguous whether or not he survived at the end of Dark Knight. I personally don't think he did, because that car crash when Two-Face shot his driver, that car crash was it made it implied that even though Two-Face survived the car crash, I don't know how, Salvatore Maroni probably also did not survive, because I don't think he had a seatbelt on. If you watch closely, Harvey Dent puts his seatbelt on right before he shoots his driver. That implies that he's the only person who survived the car crash. If that's true, then somebody's going to have to take over crime in Gotham. That's probably going to be Bane, if I had to guess. And would it work? Yes, it could. Because if you introduce another new character, that's just another character that you're going to have to deal with. There's just going to be a lot of characters in this movie. And I'm not nervous, because I know Christopher Nolan can do it. I just hope that he chooses which characters he wants to develop more, like, better than other characters. We've already got Lucius Fox and Commissioner Gordon developed, and Michael Caine as Alfred, and Batman. But Batman's like a continuing development that you see in every single movie, how his psyche changes. So those characters, they're pretty much set up already for the first two films, but I'd still like to see a little bit more. What's going to be interesting on this movie is how they end it, because Christopher Nolan said that this is his last Batman movie, and this is Christian Bale's last Batman movie. So it's going to be one trilogy, and it's going to be Nolan's trilogy. And if there's rarely been a trilogy where every single movie is good, every single movie is quality filmmaking, and every single movie is considered to be a great, just critically considered to be a great film. So it'll be interesting to see if this can be one of the rare exceptions in trilogies where you could end on a very good note. The problem with ending a trilogy is always wrapping it up. That's the biggest problem, because, I mean, Christopher Nolan I don't think he intended his story that they're telling. It's not like it's one long story like Lord of the Rings, where you have to watch every single movie. You don't have to have watched every single movie to watch one of these movies. They're each self-contained. They each have their own ending. Even though Batman Begins hints at the end that the Joker is out there, it's still a very self-contained movie, as is The Dark Knight. That's a self-contained movie. It ends with Batman on the run, Commissioner Gordon having to set the police on him. So they're both self-contained movies. This is also going to be a self-contained movie. So it's not going to be it's considered a trilogy, but not really. They're kind of just three movies that all happen to have the same director and the same actors, and they are, you know, but there is an ending story, as Nolan pointed out in an interview. So I'm just curious to see what they are going to do, how they're going to end it. Um, I don't think that it's going to be a good idea to have. They're not going to have like a tease at the end of the movie like they did in Batman Begins. Obviously, they're not going to have a an ambiguous ending. At least I don't hope they do. Maybe they will, because it is the end of their trilogy. So that's pretty much my comments on this, the new casting, and also the direction of the movie. Hopefully, it's going to be really good, and I can't wait to see it in almost a year and a half. So we still got a little while. Thanks for listening.